Hey everyone, it's Scott Norris here from vRealize Me. So after VMware, obviously lots of announcements, of which VRA 8 as well as the renaming of CAS to vRealize Automation Cloud. But today I wanted to focus on CodeStream. So let's just have a dive through, go through all the little components and have a look and talk about what it actually means. So generally I'm not too strict or very vocal about pipelining, because there is a lot of pipelining tools. A lot of organizations and customers that I work with, they have their favorites, they have the ones that they're used to. That's completely fine. Obviously CodeStream comes here, built in, it's available, and the cool thing is obviously it integrates natively with VRA, where I've seen a lot of organizations have to write a lot of their automation to integrate that way. Plus it's got a lot of endpoints. So let's actually start on that. Let's see the out-of-the-box endpoint integrations that it's got. So you can see I've got a few set up within my particular lab. I've got GitHub, I've got on-premise agent hosts, I've got Kubernetes, on-premise Kubernetes cloud, I've got Jenkins, I've got Vero, GitHub, and Synology on Docker on my Synology NAS in my house. So let's have a look at the actual endpoints. So let's go in new endpoints. Let's have a look. So agent is running a script on your agent. Artifactory, Bamboo, Docker, Docker registry, email, Git, Jenkins, Jira, Kubernetes, PCF, Team Foundation Server, and vRealize Orchestrator. So the Git integration, you've actually then got further. So GitHub, GitHub Enterprise, GitLab, GitLab Enterprise, Bitbucket Enterprise. So there's a lot of integrations directly out of the box, enterprise grade, right? So I've got the ones I use here. That's great. We've got variables, so these are global variables that we can use. We can have secret or restricted, set value, description, and these are things that we can pass in and use. I don't have any set. I haven't had a need for those yet. We've also got our triggers, so we can trigger from Gerrit, Git, or Docker. So I've got a Docker, I've got a Git trigger. The last one failed, where based on a commit to master, it will then trigger off my pipeline. So Docker is the same, Gerrit's the same as well. So projects, no different. These are all linked with the if you look at my previous videos on Cloud Assembly and Service Broker, they're all in the one. The projects come across and are shared between them. And then we've got and then really once they're all set up with your endpoints, you've got your pipelines. So I've got two pipelines here, and let's just dive into one, which is this partial one. So this is just something I've been playing with. Typically, you would obviously have your your build, your test, your deploy to test or deploy to dev, deploy to test, then do performance testing, user acceptance testing, then deploy to prod, right? Nirvana sort of style there. But here I'm just breaking it out, having a bit of play. So you see I've got build, so I'm actually using Jenkins to build container. So let's just have a look at the workspace. So workspace, we can choose an image repository. I haven't got one of them set up yet. The endpoint, as well as our selected host. I don't need one of those, and that's for integrations, and I'll talk to that in a bit. We've also got the inputs, so these are the inputs that are coming in, and the git commits there only because I've got the git trigger on this particular pipeline as well. But what the specific one here is the platform container. So I got a single pipeline that will actually build the same application in a container or on a VM, depending on that input. So if it's container, it builds as a container. If it's VM, it builds as a VM. So let's have a look at the model. So essentially we build, if my platform is container, I'm going to trigger a build of that container. So it will then grab it from source, build it up, put it in my repository. Then once that's done, I've actually got a notification for the whole stage, and that stage that goes to Slack and sends a webhook saying, yeah, I've finished. Then we go to deploy. So again, based on container, I'm going to deploy this to Kubernetes. So as you can see here, the Kubernetes, we've got get, create, apply, delete, rollback, but we've also got the ability to go source control. or local definition. Now I use local definition purely from a demonstration point of view because it's all here and it's nice and neat, but you can go directly from source control. Which is really good. Again, you can have notifications on that specific task if you want, and you can actually say what do you want to do if roll back if something fails, right? Then we've got the blueprint here, so you can see that based on VM, I want this to execute, and I'm actually going to do this from source control. So this particular blueprint here in YAML doesn't actually exist in Cloud Assembly. It is submitted directly from source control into Cloud Assembly to be built. So it automatically grabs and fetches the parameters, and you can see here I'm filling them in, and again you can use variables and pass variables through all the different stages. If you look at these, you can see all the inputs, the commands, the different build stages, and you can grab everything, right? So you can pass variables all around the place. But this sort of gives you the idea that you don't even need a blueprint in Cloud Assembly, right? So this particular blueprint actually has a load balancer in it as well, and for this reason I'm going, okay, well I want it to be the same, so I'm just doing a service separately and creating a load balancer in Kubernetes, and we see we've got the local definition here as well. Once all that's done, again it sends a notification to Slack with all the details saying that's all done. Then we move on to testing, so I pass the dynamic URL, so I grab that in, and you can see here I'm grabbing the deployment details here. That's actually calling VRO to do it, and that's because I'm running the testing in my lab. Now, especially when doing the cloud-based Kubernetes, is it takes a while for the DNS to be able to get in, so I need to make sure I can actually connect to it. So that's what that's doing. Then we go into and I use Jenkins, and Jenkins uses Selenium, so I then do a bunch of tests and user acceptance tests, logging in, making sure things work, press all the buttons, get the right responses, right? Once that's done, again I send myself a notification, yay, it's been finished. Then I've got a manual approval here. Now this is really just for me to say, yep, I'm all done, just to make sure it works, instead of just going straight to destroy, because obviously at the end of the day I've got to pay for everything I've provisioned here, so I want to make sure I destroy it, but I also want it to stop in case there's something I want to catch, or to make sure things are working 100%, do some tweaking, that sort of stuff. So this is really just for me to have a manual approval in there, and then I destroy and clean it all up, and again I send myself a notification. Very, very simple, right? You can run it directly from here. Again, it's all API first, and this one's actually at that, so let's have a look at the executions. So this one, cool, so that's gone all the way through. So if I actually go to here, there's my URL. It's just an app I did at vForum or Tech Summit or something not that long ago. It should come up. Look, there it is. And the automated testing has already happened. So I better give myself some points there. So that's all in there. Works like a treat. The automated testing worked, which is good, and which essentially just selects one of the things at random and presses on it a bunch of times. So nice simple test. Let's go back to CodeStream here. This has all worked as I expected. That's great. Let's do approve that, and that'll go off and destroy and clean up everything that I want. Now if we have a look, we can actually have a look at our pipeline dashboards. So these are actually pretty sexy. Have a look at these, especially for something straight out of the box. We can have a look at our execution status and counts. We can have mean time between failures and deployments. Within here, all the execution stats. I don't execute it that much, so it's not going to be awesome, right? We can see the total duration. And that's because it's so large, because sometimes I've left it in waiting, so it's still technically running. And then we can have a look at all these. So you see that one was 6 days because I left it running. That's awesome. And we can go down. We've had no real failures there. See execution trends, which is all great. We can then clone that, but we can then make custom dashboards as well, and view how we want. That's obviously not going to have any data in it because I haven't deployed anything. It's all 0, all flash. Now what we can also do is, there's no approvals, they're the inactive items, but what we can do is custom integrations as well. So custom integrations is where you want to essentially write your own integration from scratch. We've got Shell, Python 3 and 2, Node.js. I'm a Node.js person, and then you create it. So this will actually execute in a container. So you need to have a Docker endpoint or Docker host, as it even says up there, to be able to integrate with this, and this will execute your code in a container and do what you want it to do. So if something doesn't fit quite right there, you can drop your code in here and execute it how you wish. So again, very, very powerful conversion, do a lot of things there. So look, that's pretty much it. Pipelines are extremely powerful. You can export everything as code. So if we have a look at a particular pipeline, for instance, we can go actions, we can export that. I'll do it open in Node.js, and we can see it's all YAML. The whole thing's is YAML. You can also go into the integrations, endpoints, and you can export all the endpoints as well. Select a project, you can export them, and again, it puts them all as YAML as well. So this was actually really good because I had to move between orgs, and I was able to, I'd exported everything, and I was able to then just re-import everything directly, allowing me to pretty much go from having nothing to having it fully working as if nothing had ever happened, right? So very, very cool stuff. I'll cancel that, and that's really it. So look, CodeStream again, very powerful, all API first. You can create, you can submit everything as code, essentially. Your pipelines as code, and yeah, so that's really it. Again, it comes with it, so make use of it if you're able to. With vRealize, I think it's vRealize Enterprise comes with CodeStream, so when it's available or something around something like that, so it's there to be used. Again, I'm not very pushy on those sort of things. Everyone has their favorites, but I really like it because it's really good integration, enterprise grade, very easy to use. But worst case is that you can have another pipeline call this one if you want to. Anyway, that's it. Catch you next time. See you, bye.